Welcome to Northboro's Unitarian Universalist Church. This says a big beacon of progressive religious thought on the South Shore. I don't think we're on the South Shore. Maybe we are a community of believers, doubters, and doers, together striving to find ways of improving ourselves, our communities, and the world we share with all beings. We like to see our acts here in worship and out in the community as efforts to build the world as it should be. My name is Chris Woodcock. I'm the worship assistant for the day. As you can see, there's a lot that happens here. I have a couple of announcements in a minute that I'll get to, hopefully. You can look at some events and stuff in the order of service that might be there. There are a couple of things I'd like you to consider, though, while you're looking at that. The first one is how upset your mother would be if you not only got into a car accident with that underwear you have on, but how embarrassing it would be for you to get a cell phone call in the middle of church. For those of you who are newcomers, we would love to meet you at the coffee hour next door. After the service, we'll be able to meet you and have warm greetings. And for all of the old-timers that we haven't seen in a long time,
I didn't know.
It's so exciting to see everybody back this morning to get a chance to say hello to them again as well. We have an amazing service this morning. As you can see, I have someone up here that some of you may recognize. We're very, very excited to have Judith back. So for those of you who don't know, Reverend Judith is our Minister Emerita. She served our congregation for 12 years before retiring. We had an interesting talk about retirement. She's not really retired. She's partially retired? Partially. Nowhere close to being full. She was called to the Unitarian Universalist Society in Laconia, New Hampshire, where she now serves as their half-time minister. She's one of the founders of the UU Action New Hampshire Network. She serves on the Lakes Region Mental Health Board, as well as on the Human Relations Committee for the City of Laconia. Having served in the past for 4 years as president of the UU Buddhist Fellowship, she currently has an active Buddhist meditation group with the Laconia congregation. For many years now, she has transcribed the Tibetan Buddhist teachings of her root Lama. This is going to be difficult. Let's see if I can get this right. Nempo Lama Migmar Testin. Tempo Lama Migmar Testin, who is her teacher who lives in Cambridge. Fascinating what she's doing, transcribing his readings and stuff. She lives with her 2-year-old cat, Pete, who wants all of her attention, and he doesn't get it. So I know about that. And with that, I do have 2 announcements I heard of. Let's see, Adi, you have one? You hear yes?
Donna.
Oh, Donna has one. Oh, it's not on, Adi, so you can turn that on too.
Yeah, I'm Adi Pandit. I'm the events coordinator for our community, and we have a Memorial Day fair coming up, and we have some folks who have volunteered and maybe not volunteered who are leading the activities. So if you are able to help with the book sale, contact Caroline. For yard sale and thrift store, Barb has volunteered for that, and Kathleen will also be doing the cleanup of our basement and Burns room to get rid of things. And for Strawberry shortcake, Dora Massey has volunteered for that. So contact, huh? Plant sale, contact Renee for that. I wrote it down, I'm still not reading it. Yeah. Contact Renee for that. We are not selling plants dug out from the yard to avoid spreading the jumping worms, but we do want help in people starting tomatoes and other vegetables. You can start on your own in clean soil and donate it for selling over here. So contact Renee for that. And I'm also very happy to announce, in the presence of our OG meditator, Reverend Judith, that we'll be having a meditation retreat in June. Josiah and myself will be helping with that. So if you're interested in that, let me know. It will be like a 11 to 5 full day retreat, followed with a very good dinner. All right, so that's all I have.
Great.
June, yeah, June 2nd Saturday of June. Check the map calendar.
It's been a while since I've made a care day announcement. Thank you. It's been a while since I've made a care day announcement, but spring is here, and so the gardens especially need tending. Jean has made the suggestion in the past that if one or two people took responsibility for weeding a certain garden bed and so forth, that would work, could work very well. You're probably wondering what I'm doing with this. This is one of the Burma signs that Kathleen had initiated. You've seen them perhaps along the sidewalk on Church Street. They are great, but that area and any area on this side gets so much wind that they're breaking and falling down. So I've put a couple of cement blocks over a couple of them. But if somebody creative wants to figure out, a way to either create some more significant holes to post these in regularly or whatever, that would be a project for someone. The care days tend to be on Friday afternoons because most of us as volunteers are retired. But if you're not retired and you want to do something, I'll work with you to figure out, the timing or whatever that works. It's the week of school vacation, the week after next, starting Monday the 20th. So I'm looking at that Friday afternoon, possibly that Wednesday. Montessori will be out of school on vacation, so we have free reign of the buildings. There are other types of help, like painting, using tools, chopping down limbs. I want to give thanks to Cara, who has taken responsibility for a number of years for the Memorial Grove area, and she's already cleaned it up. So thank you for that, Cara. And I don't think I missed anything. So I'll put a notice in the perspective you can contact.
Hi, I'm Celia, and I just want to tell you about a project that we're embarking on. We're going to be clearing out, sorting through the basement of First Parish and the Burns room, and that was mentioned briefly. But we need more than just about 3 of us who have already said we're going to do it. So any of you that would like to, we'll figure out a common time to go there, and we'll be selling some of the things that we think are saleable in May at our fair.
Sorry, I didn't plan to get up, but the sign issue is serious that Donna brought up because I'm getting ready to order mini series of the signs that I proposed several years ago about naming famous UUs. You go along the road and you read about famous UUs, famous UU presidents, authors. It's a way of reaching out. I do need somebody to solve this problem for the signs because we're getting ready to put some really good bread into this signage project at last. And I want to give Reverend Steve credit for being the catalyst to just saying, damn it, let's do it.
Thanks. I don't see anything else. You ready?
I'm really here. It's been a long time. It's wonderful to be here. And it is like coming home. Thank you for that, Olga. Very beautiful. I invite you now to rise for the lighting of our chalice. Oh, we rise in Laconia. I don't know if you rise here. But I'm going to invite you to rise, a new experience, and have the words in front of you, and let's say them together. We gather today to hear, though our hearts have been bruised by broken promises and dreams deferred, may we listen again for that longing to repair and be repaired, that hunger to start anew. Like this flame, trust is something that needs rekindled again and again. Please be seated. And our opening words are by Katie Catherine Morris. We have come into this sacred space, quieter now with our readiness, hushed voices, hoping, trusting for so many things, for connection, for communion, for inspiration, for information, for healing, for wholeness, for words, for music, for celebration and consolation. Here we have come into this space, bringing all of who we are. Let us be willing, however we are changed. And our opening hymn is number 128. Please rise for those who are able. For all that is our life. Which we are called to use to build the common Please be seated.
Still on good. Now's the time, excuse me, in our service for joy.
So I want to drop a stone for Ruth Rowan, who said, for as long as I can remember here, a wish for peace in the Middle East, which I truly wish for today.
Thank you. I think we all miss Ruth, wishing for that every week. Someday maybe it'll come. Anyways, I'm dropping a final stone today for all the joys and sorrows we keep silently in our heart. Think of that.
This is a reflection by Karen Johnston. She quotes Naomi Shihab Nye, Gate 4, A4 from Honeybee. This is the world I want to live in, the shared world. This can still happen here, anywhere. Not everything is lost. And here are Karen's words. I have heard that the Buddhist teacher Sharon Salzberg has a spiritual practice where when she flies, waiting to board at an airport gate, she looks at the people sitting there and says to herself, "These are my people." A random, possibly ragtag, set of strangers are her people? Seriously? Yes, seriously. I've begun doing this at the gate, on board, for the next few hours. These are my people, with weather delays even longer. And I've begun doing it elsewhere, when riding the train, attending a concert, in the grocery store. I even did it in January when I was one of hundreds of clergy who traveled to Minneapolis to march with 50,000 for the future of our nation. Every so often, in that frigid cold, I would feel the crowd around me and think, these are my people. They are mine and I am theirs. They weren't my besties, nor my chosen family, not even my immediate neighbors, but the ones that the universe had cast as my temporary lot. Random, not my choosing, except I choose to choose them. As a spiritual practice, it stretches me. This embrace of others that I believe my faith asks of me, requires of me. It's not necessarily logical, as well as occasionally mystical, and nearly always complicated. Does this change anything? Bring about healing or justice? I'm not certain, but I can't help wondering if with this one way, we get closer to the love at the center. Does this transform me? Absolutely, yes. It commits me to the very nature of reality, interdependence. It reminds me that we belong to each other, like it or not. I'm thankful for the deep, so deep, and real, so real, and true, so true, ways in which we risk growing, beloved community in which we dare create mutual aid networks beyond these besties, those besties, in which we risk creating and sustaining the necessary, complex, messy, sometimes prickly, sometimes joyful community coalitions to get us through this authoritarian nightmare. These are my people. You are my people. Blessed be. Thank you, choir. That was beautiful. So we have a story for all ages, The Koala Who Could. In a wonderful place where the day was just dawning and the breezes blew softly on a warm golden morning, in a place where the creatures ran wild and played free, a koala called Kevin clung to a tree. A nicer gray fellow you never would meet, as soft as a soft thing from ear tufts to feet. His favorite way to relax in the sun was clinging to and to nap and to munch a leaf bun. And after all this, well, he needed a nice rest. Yes, Kevin liked sticking to what he knew best. You see, high up was safe, since he liked a slow pace, while the ground down below seemed a frightening place. Too fast and too loud, too big and too strange. Nope, Kevin preferred not to move or to change. So he clung to his tree, as he knew what to do and was never too keen to try anything new. So when Wombat stopped by and shouted one day, "Hey, Kevin, why don't you come down here and play?" I think he replied, I should stay on my plant. I'm busy right now. No, I'm sorry, I can't. Why not? Cried the Roos with a super loud cheer. Yes, why? Called the Dingoes. There's nothing to fear. But Kevin, who'd never been one to act fast, said, I've clinging to do, but it's nice that you asked. As Kevin sat watching them chatter and share, a part of him wished he could join them down there. But he knew he'd missed home. It was dark and so late. The whole thing was risky. Adventure could wait. Whatever the invite, he always said no. Oh dear, it seemed Kevin just couldn't let go. So his life was the same, no matter the day. The weeks came and went, and the months rolled away. And Kevin stayed still while the world moved around, until he awoke to a worrisome sound. So picture a woodpecker, and you're up high on a tree, and there's a woodpecker below. Tap, tap, the sound went. Tap, tap, tappity, tap, tap. Oh no! Uncling, the crowd called, which had gathered below. Leap and we'll catch you. Just let yourself go. But Kevin was scared. Let go. No, I shan't. I won't. Oh dear, I just can't. Woof went the tree. Down came the tree, and with it was bringing crash and a wallop, and a Kevin still clinging. Kevin, he carefully opened one eye and looked up at the love staring down from the sky, because all his friends had gathered around him, and his friends were looking at him. Then one paw by another paw, he loosened his hold. He felt springy and light and happy and bold. The worst he could think of had now come to pass, and he was just fine. Why, he felt quite first class. So when Wamba leaned over and held his paw out, Kevin no longer felt worry or doubt. When Dingo asked, now will you come out and play? The crowd all around him joined in with what do you say? And soon, even though it wasn't part of his plan, Kevin replied, yes, I think I can. And Kevin from then on was always can do, because life can be great when you try something new. And that's the story of Kevin, the koala who could.
A couple of us got to see some really great pictures in that book. Maybe a coffee hour. Okay, we can see it then. Typically, Steve leaves some sort of pithy thing to say, announcing the offertory to make you want to lighten the load in your wallet and contribute to the church. He didn't leave me anything this morning, but I'm left this morning thinking, with all the old faces and new faces here, the history of the church. Bob gave us some great stuff last night at the concert about the history of the church and what it means to him. I know it means an awful lot to us, and hopefully when we're taking the offering today, you'll think about what this church has meant and what it's meant over the centuries to the community. The plate today, half plate, interesting. It used to pass around a plate that people would put their contributions, their offertory in. I guess we have a bag, so maybe it's half in the bag offering. Goes to Smile Mass, which works to ensure that those with disabilities can pursue their rights, hopes, and dreams just like everyone else. Join us in creating a more inclusive world. Smile Mass focuses on getting adaptive and inclusive indoor equipment to be available in different clubhouses, gyms, swimming pools, libraries, kitchens, etc. Thank you for your donation. Wow, thanks so much. Today's reading is called Trust by Thomas R. Smith. It's like so many other things in life, to which you must say no or yes. So you take your car to the new mechanic. Sometimes the best thing to do is trust. The package left with the disreputable-looking clerk, the check that's gulped by the nighttime deposit, the envelope passed by dozens of strangers, they all show up at their intended destinations. The theft that could have happened doesn't. Wind finally gets where it is going, through the snowy trees, and the river, even when frozen, arrives at the right place. And sometimes you sense how faithfully your life is delivered, even though you can't read the address.
Oh, wait, I have a quote. One more thing. One more thing. This is by Pema Chodron, who's a very famous Tibetan Buddhist teacher. As I look out of my eyes at the world, I see that a lot of us are just running around in circles, pretending that there is ground, where actually there isn't any ground. And that somehow, if we could just learn to not be afraid of groundlessness, not be afraid of insecurity and uncertainty, it would be calling on an inner strength that would allow us to be open and free and loving and compassionate in any situation. But as long as we keep trying to scramble to get ground under our feet and avoid the uneasy feeling of groundlessness and insecurity and uncertainty and ambiguity and paradox, any of that, then the wars will continue. Pema Chodron. Okay, Olga, you're on.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend its fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change and life from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lean ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great journey we shall learn to believe in love. In this great journey we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change and life from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great journey we shall learn to lead in love. In this great journey we shall learn to lead in love. In this great journey we shall learn to lead in love. In this great journey we shall learn to lead in love.
been up here for a while. The title of our sermon is Trust.
Got it. Sorry, Chris. So what is trust? Trust is a microphone, right? There are many definitions, but here's one I like from Charles Feltman. Trust is defined as choosing to risk making something you value vulnerable to another person's actions. Using this definition, Brene Brown states that distrust would be what I have shared with you that is important to me is not safe with you. She breaks down trust into different aspects in a TED Talk. Starting with one aspect of trusting is to be able to depend reliably on the other. I can only trust you if you do what you say you are going to do over and over and over. Another aspect of trusting is what I share with you, you will hold in confidence. Here, if a friend tells us a piece of negative gossip about someone else, our trust in our friend may be diminished. For in not respecting another person's story, we learn that our friend may not be able to hold our confidence well. Trust is also an integral aspect of our interpersonal relationships that shows up every day in our institutions, in our interactions with people, and our institutions, government, and companies, etc. We are faced every day with making the choice to trust or not to trust, with strangers we meet, with the food that we purchase, with the medical professionals that we go to. Like the reading that Chris read this morning, we may find ourselves having to trust a new car mechanic or trusting that our check dropped in the mail got to the right place. Trust is a complex emotion. There's trust in oneself, trust in another person, trust in everyday occurrences in life, trust in societal systems, way too many pathways for one sermon to address. So this morning, let's ponder a few moments what trust means within a liberal, Unitarian, Universalist context. Our faith history will give us some clues to the role of trust in our faith. Trusting has deep roots in our Unitarian, Universalist history. This is especially true of people striving for religious freedom and upholding a democratic process. We know that our Unitarian Universalist forebears bravely professed strong support for individual search for truth and meaning, versus having to hold on to traditionally authoritarian creeds and doctrines. I have visited our Unitarian congregations in Torda, Romania, where incredibly King John Sigmund declared in the Edict of Torda in 1548 that all people were free to follow their own religious beliefs. Thus ending for a while religious wars within his kingdom. This edict of toleration became the cornerstone of Unitarians in Romania and is one of the roots today of our UU beliefs in inclusion. And historically, our early Universalist forebears courageously trusted in a God that would not leave one soul, not one soul, from eventually knowing God's love. This is Edwin Larkin's famous poem. He drew a circle that shut me out, heretic, rebel, a thing to clout. But love and I had wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in. Those are our Universalist forebears. So here again, trust is trust in human agency and in the sacred love that today is part of our UU belief in radical inclusion. In addition, historically, trust has shaped the governance and structure of our UU faith. It was the Cambridge Platform of 1648 that affirmed the autonomy of each congregation. Thus, the final authority in any UU congregation today rests within each congregation, not in a regional or national authority. And the merger in the mid-20th century of the Unitarians and Universalists, today we have inherited a trust in covenanting and in cooperating with one another. The members of our congregation are the decision makers, not the clergy, nor the national leaders. Such a trust is the wisdom of the congregation's members to make decisions that guide the congregation's well-being and to live out together our shared values as UUs. Thus, being a UU today is less about believing in specific doctrines. Instead, it is trusting our shared values, such as generosity, compassion, interdependence, dignity, worth, the worth of every human being, justice, and love. We hold these shared values together in beloved community, whether or not we believe in a deity or a higher power. We trust in the human potential for positive change to occur. We trust that people can change, can grow, and can act ethically. We hold great trust in community, a diverse community of religious seekers who covenant with one another and to work towards shared goals. Through covenanting with each other, we trust with others that others will also act with integrity, and conflict will be met with compassion, and that we are accountable each to one another. So why is trust so essential as being a UU? Here are some of the reasons. First of all, we each have our own spiritual beliefs as we come together to share and to support one another on our spiritual paths. Such diversity could breed conflict, and sometimes it does. But mainly, UUs trust that such diversity can enrich congregational life. For example, right now in my Laconia congregation, we are striving through the efforts of our membership committee to be even more welcoming to LGBTQ plus individuals as we renew our commitment to being a welcoming congregation. Second, trust enables our religious communities to function without dogma. Instead of being told what to believe and what to do, we listen to one another, talk things out, come to an understanding as best we can to make decisions that impact our congregation. We don't always agree on everything. However, it is best, in my mind, for everyone to have a space to speak their own truths about an issue, whether it's about how to deal with snow removal or about whether or not we put solar panels on the roof of our congregation, which we did in Laconia 2 years ago. That was really big for my little tiny congregation. We're the only congregation in Laconia that has solar panels on their roof. I'm kind of proud of that. And third, we come together in collective action to work towards justice. One subgroup of Social Action Committee in Laconia, for example, is working on voting rights and how best to prepare people for the voting in the next midterm election. In addition, others in our Social Justice Committee are organizing members and friends for protests, such as bridge protests. They go out over the bridges over major highways in New Hampshire, as well as No Kings rallies in Laconia and in Concord, New Hampshire, protests against current threats to our democracy. As Unitarian Universalists, we strive to uphold our fifth principle, that of the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregation and in society at large. A group of us have read the book, The Right of the People, Democracy in the Case for a New American Founding by Osita Nwaniva. I highly recommend this book as a good place to begin to discuss what we as a nation need to do in the future to shore up our now enfeebled democracy. Now, Mr. Nueva writes that our American democracy is no longer a true democracy, but at high risk because of an antiquated constitution and our country being driven by the wealthy and corporations which outsize our elections. He states that our democracy is financed by billionaires who care less about our democracy than about their own wealth and profits. His book is an invitation to explore new ways to vitalize our American democracy, to change what is no longer viable, and to find pathways to making the voices of the people, not the authoritarians, the decision makers. Clearly, such change will take time, probably a couple of generations, but there is no time like the present to begin to discern what would be better for all of us in terms of American democracy. One exciting development, I think, in restoring our democracy is a challenge dubbed the Montana Plan, to the federal law Citizens United. The Montana Plan would create a new Montana law that would prohibit corporations known as legally as artificial persons, from spending money on political candidates or ballot issues. The Montana Plan is targeted at giving people a real voice in their elections and not allowing big money to drown out their voices. Hopefully, the Montana Plan will make it on the ballot this November in Montana and lead the way for other states to challenge Citizens United and thus rein in corporate spending in their elections. That's just one possible idea. Thus, you use trust in the process of looking deeply at what is happening on any important social issue and learning about what is happening and then taking action to improve what needs to change. Fourth, in terms of trusting, our Unitarian Universalist faith allows us to trust that we can explore our spiritual beliefs without fear. I personally experienced this aspect of trusting within our faith when I became a serious meditator at the age of 35. My spiritual searching at this time led me to explore a number of different spiritual and religious traditions, not at all familiar with many of my UU friends and congregants, and a mainly humanistic UU congregation in the mountains of central Pennsylvania. In truth, I was afraid to let people in this congregation know of my mystical and Buddhist experiences that I was experiencing at the time. To the great credit of my UU minister at that time, Reverend David Frainer, he clearly affirmed my search as authentic and within UU bounds. I believe today I would have been accepted by this UU congregation if I had been brave enough to speak my truth. I was too afraid. I was like Kevin, the koala bear, in our Time for All Ages story, too afraid to talk about what I was going through spiritually. I clung to the belief that no one would understand, and my deepest fear was that they would reject me. I held on to the thought that most of the congregants were scientists and academics, which they were, and I believed that they couldn't possibly fathom a mystical meditative path as an acceptable UU spiritual path. They were, in my mind, caught in rational thought and wouldn't be open to what I was experiencing. Well, of course, I was dead wrong, as was Kevin. We both clung to what was not true. I would leave that congregation and go on to others, where I founded meditation groups in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, here in Northboro, and now I have been continuing our meditation group in Laconia that was established by Reverend Drew Mueller, who learned meditation from me here when he was my intern here in Northboro. It just goes on and on and on. And just trust that process, that's what I'm trying to say. Just like Kevin the koala bear, over the years I've learned to trust that my faith as a Unitarian Universalist was open to absorb my spiritual beliefs, different though they were and are from many UUs. I came to trust that my faith recognized the sacred in the relationships in nature and in being part of something larger than myself. So each of us best ponder what it is that we trust in our lives and in our faith as Unitarian Universalist. So in true disclosure, let me share with you some of why I trust a UU Buddhist spiritual path. Importantly, Pema Chödrön's quote on the groundlessness of reality, which I read earlier, points out a significant aspect of my own spiritual beliefs, that of groundlessness. In my 30s, I read Alan Watts' book on the wisdom of insecurity. It changed my life. And later on, I listened to teachings from both Buddhist and Hindu teachers who tell us that there's no place to stand. Everything is always changing, moment by moment by moment. And when we try to solidify what is happening around us, make it solid, then we become ego involved in protecting whatever we believe to have true solidity, even though it does not. I have been a UU Buddhist for many years. For me, there are a number of overlapping strands on a UU Buddhist path. So here are some of those strands I trust. Buddhists and UUs resist dogma, focus on direct experience, and center compassion and love in our lives. Buddhists and UUs practice opening up to a reality as it is, not how we desire it to be, but how it is, even if we can clear away what prevents us from seeing with clarity. The interdependent web of all existence for us as UUs is quite close to the Buddhist belief in dependent origination, with both traditions affirming that nothing exists, nothing, I'll say it again, nothing exists alone. I believe and trust this interconnectedness. I trust in the direct experiences which are affirmed in the UU search for truth and meaning, as well as in the Buddhist spiritual practices of opening more and more to insight and awareness. I trust that both Buddhism and Unitarian Universalism can lead us to spiritual understandings where justice and direct actions are needed. As a UU Buddhist path is relational, and trust arises from our spiritual practices, not from concepts, but from actual lived experiences. Such a trust arises from felt experiences, the way one's body, heart, and mind register the truth that one is not alone, that we are not alone. Such a trust invites us to attend to the present moment, softening into whatever we discover in the present moment, letting go of any illusions of separateness, being actively willing to meet life with openness, centering our lives in compassion and love. For me, trust in my UU Buddhist path has given me a sense of belonging to my beloveds, to my faith of Unitarian Universalism, and to be part of the wider world, centering in love and trusting, softening and opening, moment by moment by moment. It has been a privilege to be with you this morning and speak with you this morning. Peace and love to you. Yeah. So I invite you now to rise for hymn number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song, for those who are able to rise. closing words are by Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down, there is another truth. You are not alone. And now we have the extinguishing of the chalice.